Good evening.
Good evening.
What a great joy to be with you this evening. Not every day is like this, but this Monday is a special one. Looks like a Friday. It's Friday where you experience interesting dinners, but this is an excellent beginning of a week for me, with nice people involved in great things that are changing the world in our time. I'm not here actually to talk about myself. I'm here representing my country, Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, I was touched when on your own introducing me at your website, you quoted Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill is an icon to us in Uganda. He's fundamental in the founding of Uganda. He did a great work in the early years of his work as the Prime Minister of England. He traveled to Uganda after traveling to many other parts of Africa. And in 1908, he went back to the Queen of England and he gave a report that I would like to start with a quote from him. Different from the quote when he said, "He has found the pearl of Africa." This is another quote that Winston Churchill gave back to the Queen of England. "My journey is at its end. The tale has been told. The reader who has followed so faithfully and so far has a right to ask what message I bring back to my Queen. It can be stated in only 3 words: concentrate in Uganda." End of quote. Ladies and gentlemen, this quote is picked from Winston Churchill's book, My Africa Journey, written in 1908. Africa's journey has been a long one. Uganda's journey has been a long one too. And I'm so delighted to be part of the journey of my country, to be part of the journey of Africa. I look at you and I thank you for having interest in my country. And I'm delighted that you are sharing part of your life's journey with us as a country, Uganda. And I want to say, like Winston Churchill said many, many years ago, that concentrate in Uganda. Uganda has great opportunities that it offers. As Lonely Planet said in 2012, Uganda has got the happiest people in the world. Uganda has got the most friendliest people in the world. And the most beautiful spot on planet Earth that one must visit before you die is only found in Uganda. This is true. This is true and is based on very, very scientific research. Uganda is a beautiful country. It has the largest number of bird species in the world. If you want to see different kinds of bird species, just go to Uganda. We have beautiful animals in our national parks that you can visit, and many, many other beautiful places. This beautiful country has got quite a journey. This beautiful country has suffered turmoils that I'm delighted to sit under this roof tonight with some of you who have taken part in responding to some of the difficult things that our country has been going through. We have seen conflict. We have seen turmoils. We have seen atrocities and human suffering not seen in other place of the world. We have gone a long way to changing that dimension so that life can be different. Standing here before you is a product of the difficulties that Uganda is going through. My life journey is crooked and complicated to understand. If you are asked to walk my journey backward, you'd be scared. And you plead with God, please don't let me. Because I have seen difficulties as a person. It has been difficult growing up. It has been difficult going through education. It has been difficult to see another day. We have seen wars. We have had bullets. And we change fighting to what we would call raining. Because when the time for attack comes, the bullets that are flying, you will not hear one single shot, but they will all emerge into one big wave. Wow, like rain pouring on a iron roof. And all these bullets are looking for a living person to kill. And we would escape by running into some buildings, maybe with stronger walls, to protect ourselves. But at the end of the war, there'll be dead bodies lying everywhere. There'll be people with different kinds of injuries, bleeding to their death. I have seen it. The house where I was sitting like you are here was bombed while the war was going on. I survived with my mother and our little baby. 11 people died on the spot. We were swimming on other people's blood. And by the grace of God, me and my mother and our little baby was not touched by any fragment of the bomb. We survived and we're alive after today. And I'm able to tell the story to my children and to my children's children. Uganda as a country came into being in 1884, when the British were given authority to be in charge of Uganda after the British conference in the Berlin Conference. I think most of you have read the history of Uganda, but time came when there was a scramble and partition of Africa. The Brits in 1884 were given charge to take Uganda as a colony. The British then ruled Uganda for a period of 6 or 8 years until 1962, when Uganda attained its independence. About 52 or 53 years from since ago, we are going to celebrate our next independence in a few days. And much as our people in Uganda will gather to celebrate this important event, we are going to have it also here in Washington, D.C. And I take this opportunity to welcome you to our independence celebration. We hope to have it on the 9th exactly of October. And that will be a Friday. Friday is pleasant. Following the British colonial administration style in Uganda, Uganda has long been deeply divided along national, religious, and ethnic lines. The British rule in Uganda played a huge role in dividing Ugandans along these lines. As Uganda held its first post-independence election in 1962, Dr. Apollo Milton Obote of Uganda People's Congress became Uganda's first prime minister. Apollo Milton Obote comes from my tribe. Spoke the same language like me and my mother and dad. He was the first prime minister. The UPC's main political platform was their opposition to the hegemony of the Southern Kingdom of Buganda, who had been given a preferential position in the British administration. However, despite this platform, the UPC formed an alliance with the monarchy. But the alliance became increasingly uneasy. It was not easy for a Mukopi to go well with a royal in the kingdom. The post-independence constitution that left Uganda with a Westminster form of administration with Obote, a commoner, in the local language they would call him a Mukopi. As prime minister and executive head of government, and King Edward Mutesa II of Buganda as president, only as ceremonial head. left Uganda almost ungovernable by Milton Obote. So by 1967, Obote had changed the constitution and proclaimed himself president and changed Uganda into a republic, abolishing the system of traditional kingdoms, removing the president and declaring himself an executive president, an executive head of state. There was increasing rift between the central government and the Kingdom of Uganda, who started agitating that the central government should be removed from the soil of Uganda. Interestingly, the capital of Uganda is established within the territory of Uganda. And this is a problem. I'm bringing this to you as a people interested in Uganda, so that you get to understand where we are coming from as a people. Why we have the kind of conflict that we have. Our capital is within the kingdom. And when the British made agreement with Uganda, it was with the kingdom. But the intention was not only to occupy the kingdom, was to find dominion all over Uganda. Uganda is a country with 56 different tribal groups that speak different dialects, different languages. So the agreement was made with Uganda, and the kingdom accepted the central government to establish headquarters in Kampala, which is within the territory of the king of Uganda. Now, when Obote brought these kind of changes, undermining the king's authority and removing the king from being president, there was already bad blood between the kingdom and the central government. And the king started mobilizing his people, said, we want the central government to remove the headquarters away from my kingdom. The central government had a parliament that has representatives from all over Uganda. People from northern Uganda, from western Uganda, from everywhere. Now these difficulties was not easy to resolve. In the month which followed, following support of the Uganda and other anti-Obote elements, an increasing rift occurred between Obote and Amin, leading to Amin organizing a military coup in 1970, in which he easily took over power in the climate of political and economic unrest already in the country. Obote fled into exile to Tanzania, along with 20,000 other Ugandans. These difficulties could not let Obote stay longer. He had to go. There was a coup that eventually led to the change of government in Uganda. Those who opposed Amin expected him to organize an election following Obote's overthrow. When Amin was being supported by a section of the Baganda, of course being backed by the British, there was hope that after overthrowing Obote, there should be an election immediately to democratically elect a new leadership, with the hope that maybe this leadership will again be pro-kingdom. However, what happened was that there was a lot of celebration after the overthrow of Obote. And Idi Amin mistook that celebration to be an endorsement to his presidency. So he declared himself life president and abolished any idea of election. Amin ruled with mounting control, using violence to terrorize the nation into compliance. He persecuted any group suspected of opposing him, which came to include, among others, other ethnic groups, religious leaders, journalists, intellectuals, judges, artists, and minority groups. In this atmosphere of violence, many people were killed simply at will or for criminal motives. It is suspected about 300,000 to 500,000 people were murdered under Amin's 8-year rule. After dreaming that Asians were milking the economy of Uganda, one day Amin woke up in Karamoja and decided that the Asians should pack up and go. And he gave them just 90 days. 80,000 members of Uganda Asian community left Uganda. Many of them were major leaders of industries and business enterprises in Uganda. Other words, simply said, they were the backbone of the Uganda economy at the time. So when they left, there were no managers left. The businesses collapsed due to mismanagement. After he expropriated them into his supporters, he just offered them, he said, now you're going to manage this company, you're going to manage that company. And this for people not experienced in business completely. Now the economy was crippled to the extent that we could not even find sugar or salt. I remember when I was a little boy, my father happened to be working somewhere, I don't know how he was getting his salt, so we were eating actually food with salt. So we went to my uncle's home, and it was around lunchtime. And my uncle's children were actually struggling for food, and they were really enjoying the food. In that culture, of course, you don't have to wait to be invited to table. So I jumped in and dipped in my hands in the pot and started eating. But just the first taste, food was tasteless. No salt. So I literally spoke in my language, oh, they cook meat. That food is not nice. So right away, the community learned that our family was eating food with salt. What am I trying to say here? It was very easy to know that you're having a better life because everybody, 99% of our people could not afford to find salt. Simple things like salt. The shops had collapsed. There was no business going on in the country. People, when such things started coming up, we could have our parents lining up for salt, lining up for a piece of bar soap. And you can line up from morning to 2 p.m. and you have not yet been given a cup of salt and a piece of bar soap. That is the situation of the economy. We started washing our clothes with some kind of root of a tree, of a plant from the jungles. That root could make foam. And when the foam comes, you can wash your clothes. And you think you're washing your clothes with soap. It makes your clothes even more dirty. When Idi Amin attempted to invade Tanzania in 1979, claiming some part of Tanzania, the Kagera region, to be part of Uganda, in a bid to extend Ugandan boundary, Julius Nyerere, the Tanzanian president, declared war and counteracted, along with Obote, plus other Ugandan dissidents, including current President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda. They were able to topple Amin's then fragile regime. This led to 2 interim governments being installed, returning Ugandans from exile. Amin fled to Libya and later to Saudi Arabia, where he remained until his death in 2003. Now, post-Idi Amin Uganda saw a number of other leaders coming in and their government being toppled one after another. Some governments staying in only for 6 months, for a few weeks, a lot of things were happening. Yusuf Lule was installed as president only for 6 to 8 days, followed by Godfrey Binaiza, who was overthrown by the military commission led by Paul Mwanga in 1980. In 1980, Obote regained power and the Uganda People's Congress in a general election, which was contested by many, including President Museveni, who considered the election to be fraudulent. Museveni led a few men into the bush and initiated a People's Protracted Revolutionary War against Obote's government. In an effort to control the opposition led by Museveni's NRA guerrilla group, much of the north of the country was laid to waste, and an estimated 100,000 people were killed. However, by 1985, Obote was deposed again and overthrown by his army commanders in another military coup. In the chaos that occurred after this event, Museveni was able to seize control of the country. Museveni proclaimed a government of national unity and declared himself president. in January 26, 1986. This was seen as a shift in Ugandan politics, with Museveni introducing some democratic reforms and much improving its human rights record. Despite Museveni's great conceived policies, he was not accepted by the majority of the people from northern Uganda, where I come from. So, a number of rebel activities that led into the Lord's resistance army taking root into northern Uganda and made it even harder for the Museveni and the NRM government to develop the north. A lot of things happened. Museveni came back, established a strong government with a very strong vision. In fact, both as a child, then as a student, as a member of the armed forces, and now as a leader of my country, in a very, very sensitive part of leadership. And I've been studying my president very well. From the time he came to power, listening to his speeches over radio in Uganda, and coming to visit my school when I was a student, speaking on top of Land Road, seeing his heart, the passion, the kind of Uganda he wanted to be, the way he communicated his vision. I saw a visionary leader in President Museveni. Much as he was being opposed by many people from my region, it was not difficult for me, who was able to perceive things, to rally behind him. Because I saw him as a visionary leader who had good plans and able to execute those plans into tangible results. Much as he was being opposed by different rebel groups, that includes the Lord's Resistance Army, the Allied Democratic Forces, the People Redemptive Army, different rebel groups from northern Uganda, eastern Uganda, western Uganda. He remained steadfast, focused on a vision to democratize Uganda, to liberalize the economy, grow the economy, and make Uganda a prosperous country within Africa. He has remained steadfast and focusing on his vision. He slowly by slowly started gaining the support of Ugandans, including people from my own region. After 10 years, in 1995, President Museveni decided that Uganda needed a constitution made by Ugandans themselves. He established the Odoki Commission that consulted Ugandans all over the country about what kind of constitution do you want. And I'm so proud to say this because I know Ugandan Constitution of 1995 was made by the people. Because even me, who was then a student, my views are incorporated within this constitution. And for some of you Ugandans who do not know this, Uganda People's Defense Forces is a name given by me as a little student. There were so many rebel groups fighting. There were military led by different leaders who are either rebels within Uganda or outside Uganda. And I said, why should we have armies of presidents who have been deposed? Why should we have an army of Ogwang today, and when Ogwang is overthrown, he goes with this army? Why don't we establish a military who does not belong to anybody, but belong to the people of Uganda? And we should call that army Uganda People's Defense Forces. We should bring all these other factions of former armies who have been fighting, reintegrate them, train them, equip them, discipline them. Those who are interested in keeping on working with us, let them work under the same leadership, knowing that they are not Museveni's military, but they are the military of the peoples of Uganda. This view, I defended it. Many people clapped their hands to it. It was incorporated in the commission report, taken back to Kampala, and I went to the current Serena Hotel where the CA was meeting. I listened to the process of the making of the Constitution until we got to that chapter. When that chapter came up, I was seated at the gallery smiling. The day it was adopted, I went and looked for some small money also to eat lunch in town. The only thing that did not pass was a kind of governance. My thought at the time was that we should have all these leaders who were in exile come back to Uganda. Then we organized election with nobody who has been a lead in leadership in charge of governance at the time. We should have the Chief Justice and religious leaders manage the country during elections. Then these people run for election and Ugandans vote for them. Whoever loses election should remain in the country. Whoever wins the election should leave and the rest should wait for the next election. This was kind of complicated. I lost it, but still we won as a country because we still have a government which is democratic. We have election held every after 5 years. We no longer have a dictatorship. We no longer have government established our overthrow by the guns. As I said, speak now, next year in February we're going to have another election. And candidates are preparing themselves. They have confidence. In 2011, people of my region who have been voting against President Museveni since 1995, when we held our first election after the constitutional making, gave the endorsement to President Museveni. 2011 was a year when Uganda had the most conciliatory election in the history of Uganda, where every Ugandan voted not because of the region where they came from, but they voted as Ugandans, looking at the value that they see in the person they are voting. And at this time, they had come to understand President Museveni. They were able to give each their trust and confidence through election. And I tell you, in 2011, if you were in Uganda and you see the kind of votes, my own district that used to give Museveni negative gave President Museveni 73%. My own district. And this was a great vote of confidence. Now we have people preparing and getting nominated. In a country where people have no hope and no confidence in elective process, nobody will present himself as a candidate because there is no need. So anyway, what I'm trying to say now is that Uganda has reached a point. For the last 30 years, we have never had an overthrow of government by the force of arms. We have only had government changing democratically. I want to give you another thing that can make you smile. When we came up with the 1995 Constitution, we came up with the most democratic constitution in the world, with a very unique form of government. A government, of course, that has the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. A government that is all-inclusive. A government that respects the rights of women. Giving women, as I speak today, over 120 seats in parliament, predominantly for women. Making sure women participate in the decision making and determining the direction their country is going to. We have seats that only women can compete for. And then women are also having the right to compete with men for election to go to parliament. We have a government where the Speaker of the House is a woman. We have a government that has had the Vice President being a woman. We have a government that recognizes the participation of young people. Young people have places that allows them to compete only with their age groups to go to parliament. And when they get there, they can also be appointed into the executive. We have a very useful members of parliament who are also ministers in the government currently. We have have a government that recognizes gender balance, regional balance, religious balance. We understand that religion played a great role in the democratization process, and also it played a great role in confusing the country. We therefore decided that we should give places equitably, without saying because you're a Catholic, this president is a Protestant, he's only going to appoint cabinet who are Catholics, or only cabinet who are Protestant. We have a president who is a Protestant, and his vice president is a Catholic. We have one of the prime minister's deputies, he's a Catholic. I mean, he's a Muslim. Right? So we try to balance. Placing, when the president is appointing cabinet, he thinks critically. Whom am I forgetting? How many members in the cabinet are Catholic? How many are Protestants? How many are generally Christian? How many are Muslims? We want to include everybody. Then it comes to regional balance. How many people have I picked from Western Uganda, from Southern, from Northern? Then it comes to women, gender balance. Then you come to people with disability. So we have all this kind of consideration which is unique. It's not found in many countries. Out of all these reforms that has taken place in our country, we have also gone a long way trying to improve the economy of our country.